Hello there. Thanks a lot for dropping by PosterCentral.com's video blog today. I'm Pete Howard, and boy, what a poster to show you today. Oh my goodness, what a gorgeous early Beatles concert poster from Liverpool when Stu Sutcliffe was still in the group. Oh my goodness, there's actually 6 Beatles playing on this concert poster. See if you can figure it out, and I'll get back to that a little later. But boy, this fell so early in their career. The Beatles had played only one show at the Cavern Club so far. They would follow it with 273 more appearances at the Cavern, so you know this is early. Boy, just look at these beautiful colors, and just look at this wonderful, delightful artwork, and just a terrific variety of highly stylized lettering. Just knocks it out of the park on this one. So the Beatles, yep, they were still nobodies, so their name is way down here below the fold, as the old expression goes in the newspaper business. You know, the selling point for this thing was not the Beatles or anybody, it was Valentine's Day. And this was a big Valentine's night rock ball, so that's what they wanted to put in the big lettering. In fact, if I come in a little bit closer, they are billed as the Sensational Beatles, but that was not unusual. That was used on a lot of their early concert posters and handbills and stuff. But it does have this really amazing and unique tagline, starring the originators of the Atom Beat, before the Beatles' name. Well, that's weird because there's no other reference to the Atom Beat in any Beatles literature, except for promoter Sam Leach's ads, which did mention floor stomping and stuff, or the Atom Beat. And you know, the best we can figure it, or I can figure it, is it was a craze that probably lasted for just a few weeks, and you know, the bands just stomped their feet on the floor, and you know, it's just something for teenagers to have fun with and bring more people in. So speaking of bringing in, let's bring this in for a little bit of a closer look, one half at a time. So there you've got, as you can see, at the Casanova Club, which was in the city centre of Liverpool, and it was a club that promoter Sam Leach had opened just the week before this event. Sampson and Barlow, well, they were a Liverpool catering firm, and they had lots of spacious rooms, and so they rented them out for dances like this. That's why it says Sampson and Barlow's fabulous new ballroom, in lettering 3 times the size and prominence of the Beatles' name. And then you can see that in small black print, London Road, opposite Odeon Cinema. And you've got this, you know, just totally charming graphic as the centerpiece of the poster, Valentine's Night Rock Ball. I just love that. It's just really captivating, and it's neat the way it has that arrow going through the heart and pointing to the date. And speaking of the date, Tuesday, 14th of February, 7:30/midnight. Boy, is that like brief and concise, very punchy, but you know, in just that limited information, you've got 2 colors and 2 different lettering styles, so it all really works. You know, the last thing, of course, in the world you needed on there was the year of 1961. Everything was very immediate and over with in a flash. Then you've got that really lovely graphic with 4 rompin' stompin' bands on there. And do notice that word stompin' because, you know, that probably was, as I said, a short-lived fad that every band was doing, not just the Beatles. And, well, speaking of which, there it is on the next line with the originators of the Atom Beat. Now again, there's no reference points whatsoever, even in Mark Lewison's incredibly detailed and scholarly books, about the origin of the Atom Beat, and, you know, which Beatles started it and when, or if indeed they started it, or Leach just, you know, gave them the credit for it. It's just really, it's a total mystery. Now, agreed, it's a very small one, but, you know, to us collectors and Beatle lovers, it's quite fascinating, it really is. The only time it's ever mentioned, the Beatles with the Atom Beat, is for this particular dance, so that's why I'm figuring it was a short-lived craze. Then you've got the Sensational Beatles, 5 of them, don't forget, John, Paul, and George, along with Pete Best on drums, and John's art school close friend, Stuart Sutcliffe. Boy, I'll tell you, it's amazingly rare to find a Beatles concert poster with Stuart Sutcliffe on there. Now, this is, of course, February of '61. He had stayed back in Hamburg with his girlfriend, Astrid Kircher, until January. Then you had this show in February, and then in March, Stu went back to Germany with the others, and this time to stay. So he just doesn't turn up on poster very often. And then after the Beatles, real quickly, you've got Rockin' the Sound Waves, the Casanova Big Three. Now, I don't really have time here to go into the other groups, but when you get to the next line, had you figured out that sixth Beatle thing yet? Well, there they are, Rory Storm and the Hurricanes, formerly the biggest rock group in Liverpool, with Ringo Starr on drums, Beatle number 6, with his beard fully intact, I'm sure. And the last band there is, and introducing Mark Peters and the Cyclones. Then you've got in the lower left, licensed bar and buffet until 11 p.m. And then you've got tickets, 4 shillings and 6 pence, including refreshments, pretty nice, on sale at Rushworth's, Lewis's, and Crane's, naturally all Liverpool retailers. So you might wonder, like I did, just what did John, Paul, George, Pete, and Stu play at a time like this in their career, way back in Feb of '61? Well, luckily for the sake of this blog, the earliest known complete Beatles set list harkens from either February or March of 1961, can you believe that? And it's given in Mark Lewison's Tune-In authoritative Beatles biography. Beatles did, now of course that track list that is published doesn't mean it was the exact lineup this night. The Beatles probably had a couple of extra soft romantic songs for slow dances and Valentine's night. But the complete track list is probably pretty darn close and really puts you at the concert. I just love to hear the materials that was performed. They banged out 19 songs in 1 hour, and there were no originals yet at this point, and only one song went on to eventually be released on their EMI Parlophone record label, and that was the cover of Boys, which the Shirelles had done. The Beatles were, not surprisingly, covering more songs by anyone else than Elvis Presley, and that would be Wooden Heart, Mean Woman Blues, his Sun Records side, Blue Moon of Kentucky, and then Stu Sutcliffe's one turn at the microphone to sing the very romantic Love Me Tender. And you can be darn sure he did it, and did it well, on Valentine's Day night. And the Beatles performed 3 Eddie Cochran covers, Come On Everybody, 20 Flight Rock, which, if you know your Beatles history, is very historically important to the group, and Hallelujah, I Love You So, which of course that in turn was a Ray Charles cover by Eddie Cochran. And speaking of Ray, the Beatles also performed his What I Say. That was a real showstopper for them. And besides Boys by the Shirelles, the Beatles did Will You Love Me Tomorrow, another good one for Valentine's night. They also covered Little Richard's Lucille, Gary U.S. Bond's New Orleans, Buddy Holly's Crying, Waiting, Hoping, and Mailman Bring Me No More Blues. They also did Red Sails in the Sunset, which is sort of a 30s standard, but they knew it through American rockabilly artist Ray Sharp. And the same template holds true for a couple of standards that they knew through rockabilly star Gene Vincent. That would be Over the Rainbow. They weren't covering Judy Garland, they were covering Gene Vincent. And Hey Good Lookin', they weren't covering Hank Williams. They were covering one of their rockabilly heroes, Gene Vincent. And here's well, okay, I'll pass no judgment. I'll just say they did Pat Boone's Don't Forbid Me, which was a #2 hit in the UK, probably requested a lot by the crowd. And finally, Ray Peterson's Corrine Corina, which was a top 10 hit in America, which undoubtedly influenced them because it just didn't or barely made the top 40 in the UK. Oh boy, listening to those song titles just so makes you wish you were there, although, you know, if you come along a little later you can start hear their early originals, like I Saw Her Standing There and stuff. But boy, this is so early, so, you know, it's just a combination of early and historic and so darn good looking. So pretty, if you will, just beautiful. And it's exactly 3 years before they would appear on the Ed Sullivan Show in America and change the world. 3 short years. Thanks a lot for dropping by today. It's been terrific fun showing you this, and we'll catch you again for something soon. Take care. Bye-bye.